The millionaire walks into a flower shop, sees a pure girl, and makes a shocking proposal. Ethan Hartwell, a reclusive millionaire, stepped into the flower shop as if crossing the threshold into another world. The bell above the door tinkled sweetly, a sound that felt both foreign and inviting. He was used to the cacophony of roaring engines and the clamor of high society. But here, amid an explosion of color and scent, he felt something different, something almost sacred. The air was thick with the fragrance of roses, lilies, and jasmine. Each bloom seemed to dance in the soft light, casting warm, golden hues around the cozy shop. Ethan's heart raced. He had left his penthouse suite in a desperate bid for a sliver of authenticity. Yet here he found it in the most unexpected place. "Can I help you?" a voice chimed, bright and innocent. Ethan turned. There stood Lily, the florist, with sun-kissed hair pulled back into a messy bun, and a sprinkle of dirt on her apron. Her green eyes sparkled like dewdrops, glistening on morning grass. The contrast to his life, luxurious yet so painfully empty, hit him like a cold wave. In her presence, the weight of his diamonds and dollars felt laughable. He stammered, suddenly at a loss for words. Was he really going to discuss a bouquet, or was he here exploring something deeper? "I was just looking." "Just looking?" she replied, tilting her head curiously. "That's rare. Most people come for an extravagant arrangement or an expensive gift. Not many stroll in to enjoy the simple beauty of flowers." Ethan chuckled, the sound awkward and unfamiliar. He recognized a flicker of admiration for her honesty, but swallowed it down. Wealthy men didn't admire florists. Or did they? With every floret Lily arranged, Ethan felt drawn to her sincerity. She spoke about her dream of planting a community garden for kids in the neighborhood, a vibrant place where they could learn to grow their own food, laugh, and thrive. "It's more than just flowers," she said, her voice rising with excitement. "It's about roots, a place for people to grow together." Her passion lit something deep within him. Here was a woman, so purely dedicated to her cause, while he was drowning in an ocean of pretense. Ethan had become the masked fortune, devoid of any real connection. "What if I helped you?" he blurted out. "Sponsor your garden." Lily blinked, her excitement replaced with caution. "And why would a millionaire like you care about, well, me?" Ethan's heart raced. "Because I want to redefine myself. I want to be seen as more than just money." But a dark shadow flickered in his mind. His family had plans for him, intricate webs spun from societal expectations, fearing a tarnished name. What if they found out? Would they sabotage him? Just as Lily began to smile, reveling in the possibility, a heavy silence fell. The ambient noises of the shop faded, leaving just the two of them suspended in a tension thick with unsaid words. Ethan felt the grip of his troubled past tightening around him, a noose that threatened to pull him back into darkness. "What choice do I have?" he whispered, fear knotting in his stomach. And with that, everything hung in the balance. Their dreams, their hopes, the very essence of who they were. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Ethan's heart raced as he leaned closer, searching Lily's eyes, wanting her to see the truth in his words. "I want to help you because," he stumbled over the right thing to say, "I need to break free from who people think I am." But just as he began to hope for a spark of understanding, the door swung open with a crash. The bell rang sharply, slicing through the air like a knife. A tall man, broad-shouldered and wearing dark sunglasses, strode in with an air of authority. He scanned the shop like a hawk before locking eyes on Ethan. The tension in the room screeched to a halt. "Ethan Hartwell," the man barked, his voice low and commanding. "We need to talk. Now." Ethan felt his blood turn to ice. Memories of childhood warnings flooded back. "Who are you?" he managed to ask, baffled and nervous. "Walker. I represent your family." The man's gaze shifted to Lily, who was frozen behind the counter, wide-eyed and afraid. Ethan could feel his stomach twist with embarrassment. "This isn't the place for you, Hartwell. Come on." Lily glanced between them, confusion etched on her face. "Is everything okay?" Ethan opened his mouth to answer, but words failed him. The shadows from his past loomed larger now, threatening to consume him. "I need a minute," he muttered, stepping toward Walker. "Now isn't the time for reconsideration," Walker said sharply. "Your father wants you." "Back at the estate. He has plans, and you're not to disrupt our image. You following?" The weight of Walker's words crashed over him, dragging him deeper into memory's dark waters. This wasn't just about flowers. This was about the life he had tried to leave behind. I'm starting something new," he stammered, looking desperately at Lily. "I want to help." "Help?" Walker spat the word, contempt curling his lip. "This is a joke, right? You think you can play at being ordinary? Your family doesn't stand for such nonsense." Ethan's heart lunged. He clenched his fists, fighting the urge to scream. He had tasted freedom for the first time in his life, but Walker's presence crushed that glimmer with brutal reality. "Get out. You don't belong here." Lily stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Ethan, you don't have to go with him." "Lily, it's not that simple." Shame washed over him as he turned back. Her innocence made his situation feel so much worse. But Walker cut through the moment like thunder. "You don't want to know what will happen if you defy the family." "What do you mean?" Ethan's pulse quickened. "Let's just say there are people who'll make sure you remember your place." Walker smirked, oozing menace. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, drawing all eyes to the window. A sleek car had crashed into a parked van right across the street. The sound of shattering glass felt like a gunshot in the quiet shop. Ethan turned, pulse racing, pulse pounding. His instincts screamed for him to leave, but suddenly a woman burst from the wreck, her clothes torn and hair wild. She was screaming his name. Ethan. His heart stopped. He knew her. It was Claire, his sister. He hadn't seen her in years, and he certainly didn't expect her here, in this moment. What's she doing here, he thought in shock, panic threading through him. Every ounce of hope he had built began to unravel. What secret was she hiding? He felt the ground shift beneath him as questions spiraled. Why was she calling his name? What had happened? Ethan's world felt like it was crashing along with that car. No. No. All thoughts fought for space in his mind as he realized everything was unraveling around him. "Ethan, we have to leave," Walker barked, urgency spiking in his tone. But it was too late. Everything he thought he knew was crumbling. "Lily," he called desperately. "I'll be back." But would he be? As he ran to the door, he felt a piece of himself tear away. A haunting question echoed in his mind. What kind of life awaited him now? Ethan's world shook as Claire's voice pierced through the chaos. "Ethan!" She was frantic, eyes wide with terror, and he felt his heart leap into his throat. "What are you doing here?" he thought, as dread unfurled in his chest. He rushed outside, the air thick with the smell of burning rubber and shattered glass. A crowd gathered, murmurs rising like the tide. Claire stumbled toward him, her clothes torn, streaked with something dark. "Ethan, please," she gasped, panic clawing at her throat. Walking past Ethan, Walker's eyes narrowed, fists clenched. "Get in the car, now," he barked. The command was cold, demanding submission, but Ethan only had eyes for Claire. "What happened?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady, but fear knotted in his stomach. She grabbed his arm, trembling. "You won't believe this. I need to tell you. It's about Dad." The tremor in her voice sent chills down his spine. "Claire, what is it?" He searched her face. "What's going on with you?" And then, through the haze of onlookers, a stranger approached. A woman, wild-haired, foreboding, wrapped in a long coat that flapped like wings. Her sharp gaze settled on Ethan, piercing through him like a spotlight. "You, Ethan," she shouted, stepping closer. Ethan felt the collective breath of the onlookers hitch. "Do I know you?" he asked, confusion swirling. "I'm Mia," she breathed, intensity in her eyes. "I've been searching for you." His skin crawled. "Searching for me? Why?" "Because," she shot back defiantly. "You don't know who you really are. None of you do." The crowd murmured again, a wave of curiosity washing over them. This stranger's words felt like a crack in reality. "What do you mean?" Ethan demanded, looking back at Claire, who had paled. Mia stepped closer, voice low and urgent. "Your family isn't what you think. Your mother, she left something behind, something dangerous." Ethan's heart hammered. "What are you talking about?" He fought to stay grounded, panic threatening to pull him under. "She's not dead, Mia. Stated simply, she's alive, and she's been looking for you." A heavy silence fell, thick and suffocating. Ethan could hardly breathe. "That's impossible." His head spun. The memories flooded back, hushed whispers, the constant mention of her being gone. "You're lying." "No," Mia insisted, her voice cutting through the disbelief. "She faked her death to keep you safe from your father. The family's legacy is darker than you know." Ethan felt the ground shift beneath him. The weight of his life, the riches, the years of pain, was it all a lie? He blinked, trying to process the truth shattering around him. "Why now?" he gasped, looking to Claire. "Why tell me this now?" "Because," Mia replied, urgency lacing her words. "You're in danger. They know you're searching for answers. The crash, it was no accident. They're coming for you." "Ethan, we have to leave." Claire's voice broke through his thoughts, grounded him, but the moment felt like it was crumbling. Behind them, Walker's frame loomed, menacing and immovable. "Enough with this nonsense. Time to go," he rumbled, his authority suffocating. But the words fell flat as Ethan stood there, heart racing. A kaleidoscope of emotions whirled inside him. Anger, confusion, fear. "Ethan!" Claire pulled at his arm, desperate. "You can't just walk away." The cacophony of the crowd grew louder, whispers turning into shouts, confusion spilling everywhere. Ethan looked between them, reality splintering beneath the weight of secrets, hidden truths surfacing like monsters from the deep. "Do I trust her?" he thought, searching Mia's intense gaze. "What do I do?" A sudden screeching of tires drew everyone's eyes. An SUV careening toward the shop, tires smoking, chaos erupting in a flash. "Run!" Mia shouted, urgency igniting her words. Ethan's world exploded. He raced past Claire toward the street, the sound of brakes screaming in his ears. His legs moved, heart pounding, but uncertainty clung to him like a shroud. What lay ahead? Who could he trust? Answers twisted out of reach, leaving him reeling, as he veered wide. A horrifying thought clawed at him. Was everything he'd ever known about to come crashing down with the next turn? Ethan's heart thundered as he dashed outside, the chaos of the crash swirling around him. Claire was by his side, pulling at his arm, her face pale and frantic. He could hear the distant sirens and the rising murmur of the crowd as they whispered questions and exchanged shocked glances. "Ethan, please," Claire's voice quavered. "We have to go." But his eyes were locked on Mia, still standing by the wreck. "You have to tell me everything," he shouted, the urgency in his voice cutting through the noise. Panic was creeping into his chest. "Why is this happening?" Before Mia could answer, the SUV skidded to a stop. The driver's door swung open, and a woman stepped out, sharp features, commanding presence. She strode toward Ethan like she owned the ground beneath her feet. "Ethan Hartwell," she called out, her voice slicing through the air. Every eye turned to her, the crowd stilling in confusion. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded, confusion mixing with fear. "What do you want?" "I'm your mother," she said, and the words crashed into him like an avalanche. Stunned silence enveloped the street. Claire went pale, and Ethan felt his breath hitch. No, that can't be true, he whispered, shaking his head. You're dead. His heart raced, the world spinning. Not dead, Ethan. Her voice was steady, but her eyes flickered with something. Fear or determination. I faked my death. I had to protect you from your father. The crowd was a canvas of shock. Gasps floated through the air, and whispers became a river of disbelief. Ethan stumbled back, the gravity of her statement lodging itself in his throat. Protect me? He echoed, trying to wrap his mind around the words. From what? She took a cautious step closer, urgency radiating off her. From the family's secrets, from the darkness of this life. They'll do anything to keep you in line. Ethan's thoughts wrestled. But why now? Why are you here? Because we don't have time. She looked over her shoulder, her expression tightening. They'll send people after me if I don't. Suddenly, a deafening crash shattered the air. Another vehicle, this one black and sleek, barreled down the street, tires screeching. It swung into the curb, barely avoiding pedestrians. And Ethan's heart stopped as it swerved toward him. Get down! Claire screamed, shoving Ethan to the side, just as the door flung open and men in suits jumped out. They moved like coiled snakes, quick and menacing. Ethan, move! Claire shouted, panic twisting her face. Ethan stumbled back, the reality crashing hard. His mother was alive, and now armed men were closing in. Who are they? He shouted, voice trembling. They're coming for us, she yelled, eyes wide with fear. We can't stay here. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed Claire's hand, his heart pounding in sync with the roaring chaos. They turned to run just as thunderous footsteps echoed behind them. Ethan, stop! Mia's voice rang out, but it was drowned in the fray. The men were shouting orders, the crowd scattering in waves, screams cutting through the noise. Then he caught a glimpse of one of the men, lanky, with a cruel smile twisted across his lips. You really think you can escape? He stepped closer, confidence radiating from him. In that moment, the weight of his mother's words sank in. Everything he thought he knew was being pulled apart. His life, once a neatly structured facade, was unraveling with each frantic beat of his heart. And then the man spoke again, voice low and taunting. You'll never break free from the Hartwell legacy. Suddenly, a startling clarity washed over Ethan. They were after him, but there was something darker lurking behind those words. What do you mean? He pressed, desperation clawing at him. What have you done? The man paused, a glint of satisfaction in his eyes. Oh, you'll find out soon enough. In that moment of chaos and uncertainty, Ethan felt a cold dread settle in his gut. His world was spinning wildly, secrets bubbling to the surface, and in the midst of it all, he couldn't shake the growing feeling that nothing was as it seemed. As Claire pulled him toward safety, he turned back one last time, eyes locked on the man. What do you know? He gasped, fear and anger coiling together inside him. But the man just smiled, a dark, knowing smile that promised 100 more questions without answers. And with that smile, Ethan felt the crushing weight of his world spinning even further away from him. What did it all mean? Who could he really trust? In that moment, standing in a storm of confusion, he realized the truth was far more dangerous than he ever imagined. Ethan felt his heart pounding like a drum, fists clenched at his sides. The man's smirk haunted him, clawing at his resolve. The Hartwell legacy is alive, and it will swallow you whole, Ethan. The words echoed in his mind as he wrestled between fear and anger. What did he want? Why did he have to play this twisted game? Ethan, move! Claire's voice pierced through the haze. He felt her tugging at his arm, desperate and frantic. The sounds around them blurred into a chaotic symphony, sirens growing closer, shouts mingling with gasps. Then, out of nowhere, a blinding flash ripped through the street, followed by a deafening roar. The ground shook beneath them. Ethan turned just in time to see the SUV explode in a massive fireball, debris flying in all directions. People screamed, some ducking for cover. Everything felt surreal, time stretching as fiery chaos engulfed the area. Ethan stumbled back, shielding Claire instinctively. Are you okay? He shouted through the cacophony, heart racing, eyes wide. Yes, but we can't stay here. Claire's voice trembled, but her grip tightened on him. The fire lit their faces, casting flickering shadows. All around, confusion spiraled. What was happening? As smoke filled the air, Ethan caught sight of Mia, her expression unreadable. Was she friend or foe? Before he could question her, another loud crash echoed. The black SUV's echoing explosion twisted the crowd into a frenzy, and the man who had smiled at him, the hunter in the shadows, vanished amidst the chaos. "Where's he going?" Ethan shouted, looking to Claire. But she was staring past him, eyes wide with horror. "Ethan, look!" Before he could turn, he felt a sharp hand grip his shoulder, spinning him around. It was her, the woman claiming to be his mother, eyes blazing with urgency. "Follow me," she commanded. "Now!" Ethan hesitated, torn. But what about Claire? Panic stoked a fire inside him. "Trust me, we don't have time to explain." His mother's voice was firm, shaking him from his doubt. But as they turned, a different figure emerged from the smoky backdrop. Walker, looming like a stubborn shadow. "I told you to get in the car," he barked. "Not with you," Ethan shot back, heart thrumming against his ribs. It felt like a nightmare, answers just out of reach. Suddenly, the crowd roared. Someone screamed, "They're coming!" All eyes flitted to a sight that felt impossible. An imposing figure stepped out from the chaos, cold and composed. It was his father. Ethan's breath hitched, his heart dropping to his stomach. What is he doing here? The air grew heavy, the cacophony losing all meaning. Silence claimed the street for a heartbeat. Ethan's father, a man of strict power and control, rarely left the shadows. Why now? What did this mean? "Ethan," his father's voice boomed across the pavement. "This game needs to end. You belong to us. All of this," he gestured to the wreckage and chaos, "is your doing." Ethan felt a cold. "Been waiting for this moment. That's exactly what I wanted to see." With that unexpected twist, Ethan faltered. The ground beneath him trembled anew. What did that mean? Was he part of some elaborate game? His heart raced, doubt clawing at his sanity. Every breath felt like tightrope walking. "Ethan, let's go," Claire urged again, eyes darting nervously. He glanced at her, then back at the puppeteer standing defiantly in front of him. "What do you want from me?" His voice, more a whisper now. In this whirlwind of conflicting emotions and danger, Ethan could only grasp the urgency of it all. The truth was somewhere in this pile of lies. But how deep did it go? With every second that passed, he felt the walls closing in. He had to decide. But could he trust anyone anymore? Ethan felt the weight of everything, pressing down on him like a thick fog. His father stood there, a monument of disapproval and expectation, while Claire's grip tightened on his arm. "Ethan, you can't let him control you," she urged, her eyes flickering with fear and resolve. But the storm inside him was raging. "Let's just go," Mia insisted, urgency sparking through her voice. "We can't stay here." His mother's eyes searched his, pleading silently. Ethan's heart thudded painfully against his ribs. There were too many revelations, too much at stake. But every voice was drowned out by a low rumble that vibrated through the ground. The crowd shifted uneasily, and then the horrifying sound became clear. An engine revving, a car hurtling toward them. "Get back," someone screamed, and panic ignited in the air. The SUV, the one his father had ridden in, barreled down the street as if it had a mind of its own, tires screeching against asphalt. Ethan's instincts kicked in. "Run," he yelled, pulling Claire and Mia with him as they darted toward the safety of the flower shop. Heart racing, he glanced over his shoulder, feeling like prey being hunted. But then, in a flash, the world around him exploded into chaos. The SUV smashed into another vehicle parked nearby, sending it careening. Glass shattered like rain. Ethan felt a rush of heat and terror as debris soared over their heads. It was surreal, like a movie he never wanted to be part of. Just as he rallied everyone, an abrupt shout echoed from the depths of the fumes swirling around them. "Ethan!" It was Claire's voice, laced with raw panic. He turned, searching through the thickening smoke, but it was too hard to see. "Claire!" he shouted back, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through him. "Where are you?" And then, like a whisper in a storm, the figure of a woman stepped forward through the haze. Her hair wild, eyes strikingly familiar. It was a face he recognized from faded photographs, a childhood ghost come to life. "Mom?" Ethan breathed, disbelief twisting in his chest. "Ethan, it's all a lie," she cried, stepping closer, desperation painted across her features. He thought he knew, shattered into pieces. "What do you mean a lie?" "Your father, he's not who you think he is." Her voice cracked, urgency palpable. "There's a reason I had to disappear, a reason I faked my death." Before he could process her words, the men from earlier surged forward, eyes narrowed, determined. Fear shot through Ethan's veins. They were here for him, for all of them. "Stand back," one shouted, his tone dripping with authority. But his mother stepped in front of Ethan, defiant. "No, not this time." That's when everything changed. An explosion rang out, a thunderous blast that shook the ground beneath them. The SUV, already damaged, erupted into a fireball, flames licking the sky like angry tongues. Ethan stumbled back, eyes wide, as chaos erupted around him. "This was a trap," his mother shouted, clutching his arm tightly. But even as she spoke, fear twisted her expression. "We need to get out of here." The crowd surged around them, confusion mingling with terror. Claire screamed, her voice lost in the panic, and when Ethan turned, he found her eyes locked on his, the kind of stare that could pierce through the chaos. And then it hit him, a sharp pain, a sensation like cold steel against his skin. He looked down in shock and horror, seeing blood seeping through his shirt. "What? That's not from the explosion." Mia's voice cut through the chaos as she reached out, trembling hands moving to support him. "Ethan, you've been shot." Time froze. Everything he thought might happen unraveled at that moment. His chest tightened painfully. Who did this? The question hung in the air, heavy, unanswered, and dizzying. His mother's expression shifted from fierce to frantic as realization washed over her. "We have to go, they'll be back." The chaos swirled around them, the acrid scent of smoke mingling with the fear that clutched his heart. But just as they began to run, Ethan's world tilted again. His father stepped forward, face grim, a revelation flickering in his eyes. "We need to talk, son," he said, calm and collected amid the chaos, a chilling contrast to the explosion behind him. "Talk? You think we can just talk now?" Ethan screamed, rage surging within him. "You've ruined everything." "Everything you believed," his father murmured, "is about to change." Before Ethan could react, another figure emerged, cutting through the crowd, the man who had taunted him before. "Welcome to the real game, Ethan." And with that, the ground dropped away beneath him. Secrets spiraled, and the world he thought he knew collapsed. What was the truth? What game had he been pulled into? Caught in a tangle of lies and violence, all he could think was whether he would ever escape this nightmare alive. Ethan felt frozen, his father looming like a dark cloud above him. The chaos swirled around them, the screams, the sirens, the acrid smell of smoke. But all he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. "What do you want from me?" he asked, hands shaking as he tried to steady himself. "Everything you dreamt of, son," his father replied, voice low and unsettling. "Your mother thinks she's saving you, but she's only playing right into my hands." Ethan's mind scrambled. "What are you talking about?" He could feel Claire beside him, panic radiating off her. His mother's expression shifted, concern morphing into defiance. "It's time for the truth, Ethan," she shouted, fear glimmering in her eyes. "Everything you know is twisted. Your father, he's not just a businessman. He's involved in things you can't imagine." Just then, a deafening roar erupted from behind them. Ethan turned as another vehicle emerged from the smoke, bearing down fast. But even more shocking was the figure inside. It was Claire's father, scruffy and wild-eyed. He was the last person Ethan had expected to see today. "Get away from him!" Claire's father yelled, voice booming. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Claire shouted, disbelief flooding her features. But before he could answer, the same man from earlier, smirking, ruthless, stepped aside, revealing a knife at his side. "Nobody can save you now," he taunted, stepping forward with menace. Ethan's breath hitched, dread pooling in his stomach. "No," he yelled, instinctively pushing Claire and his mother behind him. But the world shifted again. Without warning, a blinding light flickered, and another explosion rippled through the street. It wasn't the SUV, it was the black van engulfed in flames. Those flames leaped like hungry beasts, swallowing everything in sight. People screamed. Chaos erupted as bystanders rushed for safety. "Run," Ethan screamed, adrenaline surging. They stumbled, trying to move. But Claire's father stood immovable, fists at his sides. He looked torn between confronting her and escaping the destruction. "You must come with me," he demanded, voice thick with tension. "Why?" "We have to get out of here." Claire's voice cracked, caught between the past and the urgency of the present. And then, like a cruel twist of fate, the ground under Ethan began to tremble. A shadow cast above him, something large and menacing. He looked up, and his stomach dropped. Out of the smoke, a helicopter appeared, rotors thrumming fiercely. It hovered, searching, and he felt the rush of a cold wind hit his face. What were they doing? Were they looking for him? Why was all this happening? The helicopter descended, a sharp blade cutting through the smoke. It was armed, guns pointed down. Fear tied his throat in knots. A sudden realization hit him. This was all connected. Was he really the one being hunted? But there, hovering near the door of the helicopter, stood a familiar face. His older brother, Jason. "Ethan, get in!" Jason shouted, desperate, eyes wide as he waved frantically. "Jason!" Ethan cried, confusion colliding with a whirlwind of emotions. "What are you doing here?" "Please, there's no time. They're coming," Jason urged, fear flaring across his features. His father's voice came sharper now, cutting through the chaos. Move toward the chopper. Everything changed again. The sky darkened as another figure leaped from the helicopter, not his brother, but a woman. It was Mia, breathless and frightened, urgency etched in her every move. "Forget him, Ethan. Don't trust anyone," she screamed. What did that mean? Who was lying? A wave of doubt washed over him. At that moment, Ethan realized the same taunting smirk from earlier had returned to the man who had shot at him. "You're about to find out who's really pulling the strings," he sneered, taking one step forward that sent shivers down Ethan's spine. Ethan hesitated, breathing heavily, the chaos swirling around him like a storm. Everything was a lie, wasn't it? Just fragments of a broken family, twisted truths. But which truth? Which side? His lungs tightened as the weight of uncertainty pressed down like a thick fog. "Ethan!" Claire's voice cut through the haze, raw and urgent, pulling him back. "We have to choose, now." Could he trust them? Would he survive this? The world spiraled, and in that instant, he knew nothing would ever be the same again. Ethan felt frozen, his father looming like a dark cloud above him. The chaos swirled around them, the screams, the sirens, the acrid smell of smoke, but all he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. "What do you want from me?" he asked, hand shaking as he tried to steady himself. "Everything you dreamt of, son," his father replied, voice low and unsettling. "Your mother thinks she's saving you, but she's only playing right into my hands." Ethan's mind scrambled. What are you talking about? He could feel Claire beside him, panic radiating off her. His mother's expression shifted, concern morphing into defiance. "It's time for the truth, Ethan," she shouted, fear glimmering in her eyes. "Everything you know is twisted. Your father, he's not just a businessman. He's involved in things you can't imagine." Just then, a deafening roar erupted from behind them. Ethan turned as another vehicle emerged from the smoke, bearing down fast. But even more shocking was the figure inside. It was Claire's father, scruffy and wild-eyed. He was the last person Ethan had expected to see today. Get away from him, Claire's father yelled, voice booming. Dad, what are you doing here? Claire shouted, disbelief flooding her features. But before he could answer, the same man from earlier, smirking, ruthless, stepped aside, revealing a knife at his side. Nobody can save you now, he taunted, stepping forward with menace. Ethan's breath hitched, dread cooling in his stomach. No, he yelled, instinctively pushing Claire and his mother behind him. But the world shifted again. Without warning, a blinding light flickered, and another explosion rippled through the street. The SUV, already damaged, erupted into a fireball, flames licking the sky like angry tongues. Ethan stumbled back, shielding Claire instinctively. Are you okay? He shouted through the cacophony, heart racing, eyes wide. Yes, but we can't stay here. Claire's voice trembled, but her grip tightened on him. The fire lit their faces, casting flickering shadows. All around, confusion spiraled. What was happening? As smoke filled the air, Ethan caught sight of Mia, her expression unreadable. Was she friend or foe? Before he could question her, another loud crash echoed. The black SUV's echoing explosion twisted the crowd into a frenzy, and the man who had smiled at him before vanished amidst the chaos. Where's he going? Ethan shouted, looking to Claire, but she was staring past him, eyes wide with horror. Ethan, look. Before he could turn, he felt a sharp hand grip his shoulder, spinning him around. It was her, the woman claiming to be his mother, eyes blazing with urgency. Follow me, she commanded. Now. Ethan hesitated, torn. But what about Claire? Panic stoked a fire inside him. Trust me, we don't have time to explain. His mother's voice was firm, shaking him from his doubt. But as they turned, a different figure emerged from the smoky backdrop. Walker, looming like a stubborn shadow. I told you to get in the car, he barked. Not with you. Ethan shot back, heart thrumming against his ribs. It felt like a nightmare, answers just out of reach. Suddenly the crowd roared. Someone screamed. They're coming. All eyes flitted to a sight that felt impossible. An imposing figure stepped out from the chaos, cold and composed. It was his father. Ethan's breath hitched, his heart dropping to his stomach. What is he doing here? The air grew heavy, the cacophony losing all meaning. Ethan's father, a man of strict power and control, rarely left the shadows. Why now? What did this mean? Ethan! His father's voice boomed across the pavement. This game needs to end. You belong to us. All of this, he gestured to the wreckage and chaos, is your doing. Ethan felt a cold realization wash over him, combining with the heat of anger. I'm the one who got away, Dad, he shouted back, fists clenching, eyes blazing. And then, an unspeakable horror unfurled in front of them. A flash of light shot across the scene, too bright to look at directly. A hush fell over the crowd, like a heavy blanket. Ethan squinted, heart racing, as the light faded, revealing something that made his blood run cold. There, standing beside his father, was someone he thought he'd never see again. His older brother Jason, alive and well. Ethan, I'm sorry, Jason said, stepping forward, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I didn't want you to find out this way, but it's time for you to know the truth. What? Ethan gasped, the world spinning. You're alive? All these years? Jason took a deep breath. We're not just a family, Ethan. We're part of something much bigger. Something our parents kept from you to protect you. To protect all of us. The crowd held its breath, watching the Hartwell family unravel before their eyes. What started as chaos turned into something far scarier. A revelation that cracked the foundation of everything Ethan believed. Parents he thought were normal seemed to be involved in a web of darkness that he'd never seen. Jason, what are you talking about? Ethan's voice quavered, confusion sparking in his chest. What's bigger than this? You're the key, Ethan. Jason's voice trembled with urgency. And they'll do anything to control you. You must decide who you ally with before it's too late. The tension peaked, and a deep sense of foreboding filled the air. Ethan turned to his father, then back at Jason, his heart racing with uncertainty. Suddenly, The ground beneath them trembled again as a loud booming sound cut through the air. Another explosion rocked the street, engulfing the area in a cloud of dust and debris. The crowd screamed, panic taking hold. In the center of the chaos, Ethan stood in disbelief. Friends, foes, truths, lies, all crashing together. His heart pounded. How had everything spiraled so far out of control? Who could he trust now? Ethan. Claire's voice pierced through the noise, desperate, but he could barely focus. Jason looked at him, eyes pleading. Remember, you're not alone. Choose wisely. And there it was, the unthinkable truth, looming like a shadow. With fire and chaos erupting around him, Ethan's decision hung in the balance, and the realization gripped him tighter than ever. Was he ready to uncover the dark legacy that lay before him? As the dust settled, everything around him shifted, and one question burned clear above the wreckage. What kind of monster was he really dealing with? Ethan stood there, the weight of Jason's revelation hanging heavy in the air. You're the key, Ethan, his brother had said, urgency, crackling like electricity. But as confusion swirled, another explosion thundered in Ethan's ears. And with it, the world fractured even further. Ethan, Claire's voice pierced through the chaos, drawing his attention back. She was shaking, eyes darting around nervously, panic saturating the air between them. But Jason's words echoed in his mind, mixing with fear and adrenaline. What does that even mean? He thought, his heart racing like a runaway train. Then it happened. Amidst the tumult, a figure emerged from the growing haze, a woman, her silhouette unmistakable, rushing towards Ethan. No, get away from him. Claire's father roared, positioning himself defensively. The moment froze. Ethan's breath caught. Mom? Yes, Ethan, it's me, the woman shouted back, but there was a shimmer of something in her eyes, something he couldn't decipher. What are you doing here? Ethan's voice trembled, the ground tilting under him. You're supposed to be dead? Yes, I faked it to protect you, she cut in, panic lacing each word like threads in a fraying tapestry. But before Ethan could respond, the man with the knife leapt forward, unveiling a shocking betrayal. And so have I, darling. Her father sauntered into the light, a sinister smirk stretching across his face. Surprise, he laughed darkly, eyes glinting as he reveled in the chaos. Ethan felt the air thicken with shock. What do you mean? His voice cracked, disbelief pulsing like a drum in his chest. Your mother and I, he gestured broadly, injecting the moment with a twisted sense of joy. We were never the enemies. We're ushering in a new era, Ethan. You're meant to join us. Everything shifted. The pieces of his family portrait, once sentimental, broke apart, revealing the jagged shards of deception. Join you? After all these years? Ethan's voice rose, simmering with anger. The crowd surrounding them murmured, faces pale, eyes wide, each whisper teasing the spine of his reality. Stop, you both need to listen, Jason shouted, stepping forward, taking a risk Ethan could hardly comprehend. His heart pounded in sync with the chaos around them. This isn't what it seems. Trust me, Ethan, his mother added, a fierce desperation evident in her eyes. Your father wants to control everything. He wants to use you. This isn't about a legacy, it's about control. But even as she spoke, Ethan felt a sharp pain grip his chest. Something flickered behind the passion in her tone. Fear, guilt, betrayal. Without warning, the sound of heavy boots pounded toward them and fresh screams erupted. A group of men, armed and threatening, burst through the smoke, the shadows of danger closing fast. Ethan's instincts flared. Run, he shouted, grabbing Claire's hand. But before they could move, a panicked gasp caught his attention. Ethan, it's a trap, Mia's voice rang out, urgent and crystalline. She was there, gesturing wildly, panic etched on her face. They're coming to take you. We need to get out now. But just as they turned to flee, a blinding light erupted above them, overshadowing everything. The crowd's panic peaked. Ethan shielded his eyes, and then a figure fell from the sky. Yes, fell. It was Jason, his brother, crashing hard to the ground, eyes wide and terrified. "Ethan, please," he shouted, before the men seized him in a brutal grip, dragging him backward, a flash of fate turning against them. "No!" Ethan screamed, heart splintering in absolute horror. And then it clicked. Jason, the brother he thought was betraying him, wasn't just someone caught in this mess. He was the chosen pawn, playing a role Ethan never understood. A sickening dread washed over him. Were they all part of this twisted game? Why was Jason here now, only to vanish in a heartbeat? "Ethan," Jason's voice echoed, desperately. "You have to find the truth. Not all is what it seems." Then silence. The moment froze, with Ethan standing in the center of chaos, face to face with the reality of broken trust and lingering questions. What was this life he thought was his? Before he could comprehend, everything plunged into darkness, cutting off all sound. A moment of stillness, and as he grasped for clarity, a voice echoed inside the shadows, the words hauntingly familiar, piercing through the silence like icy knives. "I'm not who you think I am. There's so much more at stake." A chill gripped Ethan. Who was speaking? Suddenly, darkness spilled away. Faces turned, and horror washed over him as he realized nobody was who he believed they were. What had he stumbled into? And could he bear the truth if it shattered the very world he thought he knew? Ethan stood there, heart racing, the cacophony of chaos lingering in the air. Everything he thought he knew shattered into a million fragments as his eyes darted between Claire, his mother, and Jason, all faces filled with fear and urgency. "What's happening?" he demanded, his voice cracking, unsure of whom to trust anymore. "Ethan, listen," Claire shouted, grabbing his shirt, desperately trying to pull him closer. "We need to get out of here now. They won't stop until they have you." Suddenly, the man with the knife lunged forward, but Mia sprang into action, tackling him away from Ethan. "Go," she yelled, adrenaline surging through her. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to run. His heart pounded in rhythm to the chaos around him. Sirens wailed, people screamed, and the acrid smoke from the recent explosion stung his eyes. "Follow me," Jason shouted, his eyes wide with determination. A sense of authority radiated from him. The brother Ethan had known returning in a moment of pure clarity amidst the chaos. "Where are we going?" Ethan shouted back, panic clawing at his throat. "To the old warehouse. It's safe. Just trust me." Jason's voice shattered through the noise, igniting a spark of hope. In that instant, Ethan felt a connection, a bond rekindling between brothers, the kind he thought lost forever. "Okay, let's go," he yelled, snatching Claire's hand and racing after Jason, their feet pounding against the pavement. Behind them, the sound of angry shouts carried through the air, the mercenaries hot on their heels. "Don't stop," Claire urged, her voice breathless as they navigated through the throngs of people, dodging debris and wreckage. They skidded into an alley, heartbeats echoing like drums in their chests. "This way!" Jason ducked into a narrow passage, urgency in his movements. Just as they rounded the corner, a barrage of bullets thudded into the brick wall beside them. "This isn't a game," Jason barked over his shoulder, panic feeding his determination. Ethan felt the piercing edges of fear and adrenaline intertwining. Could they really escape? He stole a glance at Claire, her eyes wide, resolve etched into her features. "We can get through this," he whispered, squeezing her hand tighter. They burst into the warehouse, the smell of mildew and dust mixed with the metallic tang of age. Breathing heavily, they paused at an old wooden table, Ethan scanning the dim light for an exit. "Everyone move," Jason shouted. "We can barricade this door." As they pushed against the heavy crates, Ethan felt a flicker of hope, but it was clouded by lingering doubt. "What then? What's the endgame here? What's this all for?" he demanded, the weight of unearthed secrets threatening to crush him. "That's why we needed you alive, Ethan," Mia interjected, eyes fierce but softening. "You're the only one who can take down what your father built. This isn't just about us, it's about breaking a cycle." A tremor rippled through Ethan's chest. "Break a cycle?" he echoed, a sense of clarity igniting within him. "What do you mean?" Just then, the door splintered under a heavy impact. Fear clutched at him again, raw and real. "They're here," he shouted, adrenaline flooding his veins. "We stand together," Jason growled, determination emanating from him, a fierce contrast to the turmoil outside. With one last push, they stacked the crates and prepared. Ethan felt steely resolve replace his doubt. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for a future. The door shattered open, and men stormed in, guns drawn, eyes dark with malice. But they stood united. Ethan, Claire, Mia, and Jason, ready to face the storm together. "Together," Ethan rallied, his voice rising above the chaos, the weight of his heritage igniting a fire within him. "We won't back down." With one final charge, together they leapt forward, hearts pounding, as the walls of their past threatened to crumble. The pain of their family's secrets clashed with a hopeful determination for something brighter. It wasn't just about escaping, it was about reshaping destiny. As they plunged forward into the chaos, Ethan embraced the uncertainty, knowing finally that this fight was theirs to win. And with that choice, Ethan felt alive for the first time. If you loved this ride and want to experience more epic stories just like this, you have to subscribe right now. Don't wait even one more second to share this with your friends. Smash that like button right now to fuel the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. This is the moment to show your support for our channel and be a part of our amazing community. Let's keep this journey going together. Don't miss out.